I'm Steve Lamb. I'm here again at Politicon. I'm here with a gentleman who's got a radical idea. It's something, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Phoenix Goodman.
Phoenix Goodman. How could I forget Phoenix Goodman? Okay. You've got a radical idea. You're working on something called Measure B for the city of Los Angeles, and it's a public bank.
Right.
Now, most people don't realize this, but when they go to the bank, it's a privately owned corporation. Mm-hmm. And what's the difference functionally for people between a private bank and a public bank?
So a private bank has loyalty to its private shareholders, and it has loyalty to quarterly profits.
Okay, so it's about making a profit and returning money to people who own pieces of the bank.
Correct. Public bank is the public sector version of a bank. So as we know, banks are highly profitable. When you have a public sector bank, those profits are recaptured and recycled into the public sector. So for example, what we're trying to create specifically is a banker's bank in the city of Los Angeles. It wouldn't be a type of bank where individuals would be able to go and deposit their personal, checking accounts. What it would be is the banker of the city of Los Angeles, who manages our municipal tax dollars as well as the infrastructure loans that the city takes.
So the city would hold all of its own money instead of sticking it in a private bank.
Correct. Currently, the way the status quo works is this is for every city in the United States, for that matter. In Los Angeles specifically, we have paid in 2017 $175 million in fees, $1.1 billion in interest to Wall Street firms, mostly Wells Fargo. So essentially what's happening across the entire United States is cities, states, counties are depositing tax dollars and requiring banking services from Wall Street, and Wall Street is extracting those public dollars for their
The city
good.
of Los Angeles has paid over $1 billion in fees and interest?
Yes. Mind blowing.
But they've got to be like the largest depositor that they've got to be a huge depositor, right?
Yeah. So this is, from the financial aspect of public banking, it just makes common sense. Because when we have a public sector bank that can essentially cut the middleman out, do the exact same thing Wall Street has been providing for us, but with an ethical and environmentally responsible guidelines, the profits that Wells Fargo makes off of us would be recaptured as public sector profits. So the profits that bring the money that the city would see from that could be reinvested back into the city, saving us significant money, providing another source of revenue for the city other than taxation.
So it's a tax-free way to take that $1 billion and put it back into the city, take it away from Wells Fargo or Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the city budget per year if they're spending $1 billion on interest and fees?
It fluctuates depending on multiple factors, but it's multiple. We've seen the number 8 billion thrown around a lot, upwards to 10 or more. It does fluctuate, but it hovers around
10
the 10
to 12% of the city budget actually is consumed in fees and interest.
Yeah, consider this. You take a loan, 30-year loan. Right. You're paying interest back. The way the math works out on that is you're oftentimes paying up to 50% of the initial cost of that loan.
Right.
So that applies at the macro level, at the state level. So when imagine the interest that we're paying to Wall Street currently being recaptured by the city and then reinvested again for the next public works project.
So you have 10% more money to buy policemen, to buy fire equipment, to upgrade, say, the sewage plant, which has been under federal
you name it,
sanction for 20 years.
Yeah, and the other aspect to it, other than the pure financial aspect, is the ethical part. Wells Fargo is blatantly guilty of criminality. They not only have a very dubious investment record in things like the Dakota Access Pipeline, arms. They have been caught opening up fraudulent accounts, and there's plenty of other throughout decades of their existence. They were unscrupulous leading up to the 2008 crisis.
Right.
This is the type of firm that we're supporting implicitly with our tax dollars by doing business with them. And even if we were to divest from Wells Fargo, which is what we initially were campaigning to do, it'd be another big bank on Wall Street, which would address one symptom but not the system itself. So what we are looking to create is not only a public sector bank per se, but an ethical people's bank with a charter to have a social and environmental good mandate, making it a triple bottom line business. We want it to be completely transparent, completely accountable to the people, so that all investment policy is overseen by boards of directors that are not only professional bankers that would underwrite loans responsibly, so that it does make a profit, but by community members that would keep those bankers accountable and make sure that everything's done by the will of the people.
How would the community members get onto the board? Do they run for election? Do they get appointed by some other
There's a model. That's a good question. There's a model that we are gaining a lot of inspiration from. So first there's the North Dakota model. That's the example in the United States that already exists at the state level. There's no municipal level bank. Yet in Germany, they do have a similar model of smaller scale banks, regional banks that are closer to municipalities, more like counties, called Sparkassen. They have a tripartite board of directors. So 1/3 of them is bankers, 1/3 of them are elected officials, 1/3 of them are community members, and they do run for office for that board.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's a public sector thing. Everybody's, they're elected, they're accountable, they can get booted if they're corrupt. That way we bring bankers from outside public influence and control to within public influence and control.
Fascinating. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we bring this to a conclusion?
Well, this is Charter Amendment B on the ballot November 6th in Los Angeles. When we get a yes vote on this, it'll create the nation's first municipal public bank. This is bigger than Los Angeles. This is only the first domino in the revolution that began with Occupy Wall Street. At that time, all they knew was, we don't like the big banks. Look what happened in 2008. The biggest critique about that was, what are you actually fighting for? We now have brought the solution to the table. We are fighting for people's banks, accountable to the people, and we want every major municipality in the city, in the United States, to do this. We want every major state to do this, and that will transfer untold trillions of dollars from Wall Street to Main Streets everywhere for local determination, and it'll create a paradigm shift in economics.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you.